It all began on an ordinary afternoon in the Johnson family's household in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio. The Johnsons were a close-knit family, though like many, they had their share of struggles. Mark Johnson, the father, was a hardworking man in his mid-40s who managed a local hardware store. His wife, Laura, was a caring and patient woman, known for her warmth and kindness. They had two children, Emily, a thoughtful teenager with a love for books, and Noah, their energetic 12-year-old son who could fill a room with laughter in an instant. Though their home was filled with love, it was also shadowed by one unspoken truth. Mark had been struggling with chronic back pain for years. It had started as a dull ache from long hours of lifting boxes and standing on concrete floors at the store. But over time, it grew into something that impacted nearly every aspect of his life. Some days, it was so bad that he could barely get out of bed. He tried to hide it from his kids as best as he could, but they noticed the way he winced when he bent over, or the way he sometimes had to sit down in the middle of doing chores. Laura worried about him constantly. She encouraged him to see doctors, try physical therapy, and even change his diet to reduce inflammation. Mark, being the proud man he was, didn't want to burden his family with his pain. "I'll manage," he would say with a tight smile, even though the truth was that the pain was becoming unmanageable. One Friday evening, after a particularly long and exhausting week, Mark came home later than usual. He dropped his bag by the door, rubbed his lower back, and sat heavily on the couch. Emily, who was reading a novel nearby, looked up at her dad. She noticed the familiar grimace on his face, but this time it seemed worse than usual. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked softly. Mark forced a smile. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little sore. It's been a long day." Laura came in from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She saw the way Mark was sitting, hunched and tense, and her heart sank. She sat down next to him and put her hand gently on his arm. "Mark, this can't go on. You're hurting more and more. You need relief." "I don't know what else to do, Laura," he admitted quietly. "I've tried the exercises, the stretches, the medications. Nothing lasts." It was Noah, overhearing the conversation, who suddenly piped up with an idea. "Dad, why don't we give you a massage? I saw this video online about how massage can help with sore muscles. Emily and I can take turns." Everyone laughed at first, but Noah's suggestion planted a seed in Laura's mind. She had always believed in the power of touch and comfort. She knew she wasn't a professional, but she also knew that sometimes love could bring healing where medicine couldn't. That night after dinner, Laura suggested they try. "Mark, why don't you lie down on the couch? Let's just see if some gentle massage helps. No pressure. If it doesn't work, at least you'll know we tried." Mark hesitated, but seeing the hopeful looks on his children's faces, he agreed. He stretched out on the couch, and Laura sat beside him, placing her hands gently on his shoulders. She began to massage slowly, using careful pressure, guided by instinct and love rather than skill. At first, Mark felt awkward. He wasn't used to being the center of such attention. But as Laura's hands worked across the knots in his back, he felt a surprising wave of relief. His muscles, tense from years of strain, began to soften little by little. Emily and Noah watched closely, eager to help. "Here, Dad, let me try," Emily said after a while. She took her mom's place and began to mimic her movements. Her touch was lighter, but it carried a tenderness that moved Mark more than he expected. Noah, not wanting to be left out, joined in, gently pressing on his dad's arms and shoulders, making the whole family laugh with his enthusiasm. What began as a simple massage turned into something far deeper. As the Johnson family gathered around Mark, touching his aching muscles with love and care, the heaviness he'd been carrying seemed to lift, not just physically, but emotionally. He realized how much he had been keeping inside, trying to be strong for his family, while silently suffering. And in that moment, he felt truly supported, in a way he hadn't for years. The massage became a ritual in the Johnson household. Every evening, after dinner, Mark would stretch out on the couch, and his family would gather around to give him a massage. Sometimes it was just Laura, sometimes Emily and Noah would take turns, but always it was done with laughter, conversation, and love. As weeks passed, something remarkable happened. Mark's pain began to ease, not only because of the physical relief, but because his family's care lifted the burden he carried in silence. The massages gave him a chance to relax, to open up, and to share stories about his day. In return, Emily and Noah shared about school, their dreams, and even their fears. What started as a way to relieve physical pain grew into a bonding ritual that brought the family closer together. One evening, as Laura worked gently on his shoulders, Mark found himself confessing things he had never said aloud. I've always been afraid of letting you all down. I thought if I showed how much pain I was in, you'd think I was weak. But being here like this, I feel safe." Laura's eyes filled with tears. She bent down and kissed his forehead. "Mark, you've never been weak in our eyes. You're the strongest man I know. But you don't have to carry everything alone. We're a family. We carry it together." Emily squeezed his hand.
"We love you, Dad."
"Always." Noah chimed in, grinning. "And if all else fails, I'll just become a professional massage therapist for you." The room filled with laughter, and for the first time in a long time, Mark felt free. Months later, Mark noticed that not only was his pain better, but his heart felt lighter too. The ritual of massage had taught him the power of letting others in, of leaning on the love around him instead of trying to bear everything alone. His family had given him more than just relief for his back. They had given him healing for his soul. The Johnson family's simple nightly tradition became a story they would tell for years. It reminded them that healing doesn't always come from medicine or therapy alone. Sometimes, it comes from the warmth of a loved one's touch, the laughter of children, and the quiet strength of a family standing together. It was quite literally the massage that changed everything.